especially now that I'm in a cut, meal prepping has been of the utmost importance. And I've been meal prepping for myself. You'd
Okay,
be proud.
good.
Breakfast and lunch and dinner.
Very good.
And I think the biggest question that I've had for myself, and I've been doing this now for a year on and off, but this time I'm taking it super seriously. I guess because I'm seeing real results.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I'm measuring food, obviously we use a metric system. Is it the metric system? That's the one that we use, right, in the US? Versus, what's the other system then?
Imperial.
Imperial, okay. So obviously we use the metric system, but that's like ounces and pounds and teaspoons and stuff like that. I've been hearing that maybe we shouldn't be using that. We should be using the grams. And as
There's no difference.
There's no difference?
There's no difference. Like, it's just a matter of like, I mean, if you really wanted to dive deep into it, it was a difference of why they came up with one unit of measure for another one.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So like at the end of the day, like if so like one pound is equal to, what is it? 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds. So like you look at this like, hold on. So you look at this like 17 kilogram medicine ball, right? Look at this medicine ball, right? Mm-hmm. See that? Round, big, heavy-ish. So what does it say on there?
7 kilograms.
Now, 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds. Mm-hmm. We're just going to say for the sake of simple math, because God forbid you got the decimal point wrong. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to put in the comments and say, you guys were off by 0.5 pounds. Fuck your life, all right? It's close enough. So we're just going to say, for argument's sake, right? Simple numbers. I lift weights for a living. 1 kilogram is equal to 2 pounds.
Right.
So if I say the medicine ball weighs 7 kilograms and you say it weighs 14 pounds, does it really matter?
Okay.
I mean, that's my mentality. Like, if you want to measure in terms of pounds and I want to measure in terms of kilograms, it doesn't really matter as long as we know that there's a difference, and it's just knowing the conversion. So, like, I measure my food a certain way. I measure in grams. Like, I measure grams for everything. Bobby measures a completely different way, right?
Bobby's his wife. She's the good part.
So she measures in grams, I measure in ounces.
Okay.
So I say, hey, I need 14 ounces, 11 ounces. That's just the way what I was introduced to. That the scale that I first bought, that's what he used. So that's just what I do.
Okay.
She does grams. That the program she did for her diet stuff, that's what she did. And like, we both know each person measures it differently. But like when she goes to measure out my food for me, because she does my meal prep too, she doesn't trust me in the kitchen. I don't blame her personally. But like, she knows how to convert it, where instead of grams, she does ounces. Okay. But at the end of the day, it's the same. You're getting the same thing. So
calorie-wise, protein-wise, it's not that much of a difference when you're talking ounces versus grams. When you're counting.
Well, when you're counting your macros, you're talking in terms of grams. Like, I want 11 grams of protein, or I have 74 grams of carbohydrates. Now, certain things like the actual weight behind it. Ounces, grams, like, at the end of the day, the easy answer is it doesn't matter how you're measuring. Okay. As long as you have a system, you're following it, and you know what you're following.
Okay. That's I love that, having a system. So then the next follow-up for that is then when I'm putting in, because I use MyFitnessPal.
Okay,
this is something that we've installed here at Jason Fitness.
The gym, yeah.
And
the glorious House of Gains, yes.
When should I use cooked versus raw?
Honestly, so I'm gonna give you the real world answer.
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't matter.
Like,
okay,
you know which one you're gonna use, and you just understand that when I measure, I'm measuring it the same way every time.
Okay.
So like when I do my stuff,
like
I live in reality. It's a great place. A lot of you guys should try it sometimes. But like, I'm never gonna be able to measure all my food cooked or uncooked. Whatever's in front of me, it's cooked, great. I measure it that way as I'm serving myself.
Okay.
Because otherwise, like, wait, what did this weigh beforehand? That's never gonna happen.
Okay, good. Okay.
Especially like if you're not the person cooking, like a lot of guys watching. I shouldn't say that. A lot of spouses who aren't the primary chef in the house. Gotta be correct these days. A lot of you kids who are watching this, like obviously mom and dad are cooking, or if you order out, like you don't know what it was when they first. You try calling up a restaurant, like, excuse me, can you weigh this out for me first before you cook it? They are gonna never deliver your food food and never take your call again. For me personally, what's always worked for me is that when I get it in front of me, throw it on the scale, weigh it. Okay, great. I have an idea what it is.
Okay.
And that's why we do everything within a 20% variance, because you don't know. Like, you never know. Like, there's always going to be some kind of like human error. You try to be as accurate as possible, knowing that there's still going to be some kind of a little, give and take range in there. So the more strict you try to be, the more dialed in that variance is. And now you're looking at, okay, is it a 5% variance? Is it a 10% variance? Is it a 20% variance? The more loose you get, the more varied your results are going to be. But the more dialed in you are, the more accurate results are going to be based on what you're planning for. But you always know, like, somebody might like how many people, like, what does a tablespoon of peanut butter look like?
Oh, it's actually very small.
It is, because you level off the top of it.
Yeah.
How many people actually level off the tablespoon? No, it's how much I can balance within reason, and that's a tablespoon, but it ends up being 4. So it's just errors in human measuring and stuff like that. So, you try to be as accurate as possible to cut down on the variances, but, like, they're going to be in there. They're going to be in there.
Now, this is just a specific question for me, so when you're on a cut like I am right now, and I'm on a low calorie, obviously, and don't worry, I'm doing it healthily, prioritizing protein. But, like, how do I fit in those carbs without, and I understand the 20% variance, I'm trying to give myself that grace not to feel bad, but how do I fit in those carbs so that, I can still get my good lift in without feeling weak, without feeling...
I mean, look, the reality, I'm a realist, right? I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been fit, I've been fat, I've been fit, I've been fat again. I'm getting over an injury. I'm a little more on the fat side now, but, like, I've worked with thousands of clients literally over the years, right? Everybody's different. Like, I can tell you some people who would say, bodybuilder friends of mine, like certified pros, hey, you're going to eat 45 minutes before you work out, so it gives you enough time to absorb, and they give you a list of things, and it'll be something sugary, so it goes into your bloodstream, and it gets in there quick, fast, and in a hurry.
I've heard that.
I know some people who would tell you, hey, you want to eat afterwards so you have the energy to refuel yourself afterwards. I know some people who would say don't eat anything less than 3, you want to eat 3 hours before it. Some people eat during their workout. I think it depends a lot on the goal, right, the situation, the athlete, and the training conditions. Like, if you're training in hot temperatures, don't eat fucking yogurt and orange juice because you're going to throw up.
Okay.
Okay. Like, if you're going to be if you're going to be training in the cold, don't drink a ton of liquid because you're going to have to piss your brains out. If you're the kind of person, like, I'm very sensitive to carbs. So a lot of people would say, oh, you shouldn't have a fat before you work out. Like, when I'm in a situation where it makes sense for me to eat before my workout, right? I'm in more of a fat burning phase now. But, like, if I needed to eat before I work out, I need to have a fat and a carb, otherwise my blood sugar spikes up. There's a million different reasons why one thing would work for somebody else and, not for them. And that's one of the problems with, like, the 80s and the 90s before social media, because, like, you would see what was put in front of you in, like, Muscle and Fitness and Men's Health and Women's Curves and all the other different magazines. But, like, you're getting a snapshot of that person's situation. You're not seeing all the other shit that's going on. Where I was talking about somebody about this the other night. Like, I was a big wrestling fan back in the day. Back when it was WWF, I know it's WWE now. And you see a lot of these athletes, like, these guys are fucking broken. Like, their bodies are beat up. Like, they look like, they look like ass compared to what they used to look like. They had phenomenal physiques, like a dudes do, right? You didn't see that back in the day because they didn't want to show that to you. But now everything's so much more accessible. You see bodybuilders, athletes, movie stars who are a shadow of their former selves, where, you look at you might look at that and think, oh, they let themselves go. No, life happened. Like, you have a life shelf. But nobody talked about that back then.
Right.
We talk about it now because we see it now.
Right.
So why do I mention that with the dieting thing? You would see a diet plan that worked for, a particular fitness influencer who was 24 years old, living at home with mom and dad, no kids, no job, no bills, no responsibility, who had phenomenal genetics, who's never been overweight in her life, that literally, even if she didn't work out, she would look amazing. How is that person going to relate to somebody who's like 200 pounds overweight, afraid to look in the mirror, and every time they try to work out, like, they hurt something? Like, how could you relate to that?
Right.
You have diabetes, she doesn't. Like, I'm not saying you, but I said the person would have diabetes. Like, you can't compare that. That's why there's so many things in place where I think it's important to work with somebody who's been so diverse and has seen so many things that they know, hey, what's going to work for Mary isn't going to work for Sally, and what works for Sally might work for Jane, but it's definitely not going to work for Mary.
Right.
And you've seen so many scenarios and you work with so many people that you can pick the right solution for the best person. And that's why you see a lot of people on social media, like, I always make the joke, but it's not a joke. I am a fat personal trainer with a shit ton of fucking clients. Why? It's ridiculous. And the reason why is because, like, we're very fucking good at what we do. Like, it's because we're so busy helping other people that, like, I always sacrifice myself. And, you know, and obviously, you know, you should always take care of yourself. You know, you go through busy times, right? By parole. Work with a lot of busy moms and dads so we can find solutions and strategies to just the bullshit that they go through. You know, where if I was one of my very, very good friends, 40-year-old, you know, tall, dark, delicious, good-looking black dude, like, been in shape his whole fucking life, right? Entire life. You can't relate to somebody who's been overweight their whole life. You don't know the struggles. There's a guy, I don't remember his name. He wrote a book, Fit to Fat to Fit. Basically was a personal trainer, was in shape his whole life, was tired of getting shit from his clients. So he said, hey, I am going to spend the next 6 months getting fat, not working out, eating McDonald's while he was still training people, right? And then he was going to try to lose the weight. And he documented the whole process. This is like 10 or 15 years ago. And he realized how hard it was for people to come back from that. So then 10 years later, he went and did it again, forgot how hard it was the second time, but it made him a better trainer because now he does a lot of keto stuff, right? But, like, he was able to relate to people in a different way that they were never able to relate to him before. Like, I can't relate to somebody who comes in with their monthly cramps on squat day. My wife can, a female trainer can. Mm-hmm. Now, I've also worked with enough females where I have an idea, but, like, I don't know, you might want to talk to somebody who can deal with that. And that's what we're going to tell you, like, talk to this person.
Right.
Like, you got to find somebody who kind of has either enough experience with those kind of people or if they've been there themselves. So to answer that, like, it's not a simple answer.
Right.
You got to find what works for you.
Okay.
Trial and error. With that trial and error, having somebody there with you who's able to look at the data and say, hey, here's what makes the most sense, let's try this.
Okay.
So you can cut out the learning curve as much as possible, reduce the trial and error, and kind of just hopefully get the answers to the test right from the get-go, and having that guidance to kind of emotionally take themselves out of it and say, hey, here's what makes the most sense.
Right.
You know?
I think that's the important part, taking the emotional part out of it. Because we started the conversation by saying a lot of people are married to the scale. So if you're married to what that number says, that's an emotional attachment to it. And taking that away for this process, I think, was one of the biggest hurdles that I had to do. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate that now because I'm seeing the results. So I'm okay with eating a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Especially now that I'm seeing.
But you also had a way to test it to realize, like,
it wasn't. I'm not just eating. I'm getting muscle. I'm definitely getting muscle from it.
Like, we got a lot of teenage girls that come to us over the years because we have the InBody with tons of eating disorders, right? Not eating enough. So because people know that we have the machine and we've helped people before. So sit down, teenage girl, typical, you know, misconceptions about things, you know, society, right? And I'm like, listen, we're gonna eat more for 7 to 10 days, right? We're gonna jump on the InBody, we're gonna test it. If I'm wrong, we'll do a bunch of cocaine and cardio together, we'll burn off, we'll be good, you'll be back to zero.
You say this to teenagers?
Yeah, I do, they laugh, and it breaks down the wall for them too.
Good.
And I'm like, but if I'm right, we have to do it for another 7 to 10 days.
Okay.
And they're like, okay, cool, you know what, because the last thing they wanna do, and I'm making a joke about it being with teenagers, but, like, let's say it's somebody who's overweight, who just lost 50 pounds, struggling to do that, and I'm saying, hey, guess what, now you gotta eat more. You're more afraid of not, you're good, no, you're good. You're more afraid of going back and regaining those 50 than you are of staying where you're at for the rest of your life. Yep. And you will do anything to not regain that weight again.
Yeah, 100%.
But if I could say, hey, just give me 7 to 10 days, and if it's too much, we'll burn that weight right back off again, you're a little more open to it and you feel safe. It's kind of like a safety net.
Yeah, sure.
And you kind of just keep stepping along the way, and that's how we help people make the transformation, because we show them, listen, here's what works, here's what the data says, here's what the science says, but we're gonna test it and make sure it's working right. We're not just gonna let you do it for 3 months and be like, hey, how you feeling? I looked in the mirror and I'm like 30 pounds heavier. Well, that sucks.
Yeah. No, there's
And that's the way it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not anymore.
No.
So
I think another one-on-one great aspect of working with you and your entire team has been the fact that you don't just tell me what exercise to do, you let me ask questions. Like, I remember I was doing a chest press, and I said to you, where am I supposed to be feeling this? And you said, it's in the name. Thanks, Captain Obvious. Because I wasn't honestly feeling it there. And I was like, I'm feeling it in my arms. And you said I'm supposed to, but I think that's an important aspect too. Whenever I have these like little questions, letting your athletes know where they're shooting. You'll ask us too. I remember when I first did a Cossack squat, you're like, where are you? You asked me, where am I feeling it? Because it's obviously multiple body parts are moving in that kind of a form. And so you wanted to make sure I was feeling it where I'm supposed to. So knowing what muscle we're supposed to be feeling is important, because just doing a movement to do it, like I feel a lot gets lost in translation just by doing something but not doing it.
But that's
right.
also people, like especially in a group setting, even in a one-on-one setting too. That's just people's natural desire to please the person or the people they're with. Like, you don't want to look like you're not doing something right. You don't want to look like you can't do it. So you just go along with the crowd, and if it looks close enough, you're just happy that you fit in.
Right.
You don't care about getting results. I mean, you do, but at the end of the day, it's like the short term is, hey, did I embarrass myself today? Or, you know, you look at half of the people who try doing exercises that really can't do them, but they do them because they don't want to look like they can't do it.
Right.
Like case in point for myself, right? Like bad back injury, bad neck injury, a little fluffier than I want to be, a lot fluffier. But, you know, I know what I used to be able to do 3 to 5 years ago. I can't do that right now. And I find myself a lot of times wanting to go back to those same type of workouts, but that's not what I need to get back to working past my shit. I got to do a lot of the corrective exercise stuff, the boring gait stuff, you know, the movement based stuff, the stuff that doesn't really burn a lot of calories, but it's going to get my body back in alignment so I can do that stuff again, you know. And it takes a lot to really take that step back and say, emotionally take yourself out. Hey, you know, I'm a grown-ass man. I'm a U.S. Marine. I'm all these things. I should be able to do this still.
Okay.
But, like for push-ups, my shoulder's all fucked up. My shoulder's out of my socket half the times. So I do my push-ups from the knees or elevated, because if I do them from the ground, which I can do, it's all my shoulder. So I have to take the ego out of it, reduce it down, right? So I feel it in my chest, and slowly build it back up from there.
Okay.
Shot to the ego, yeah, but it works. And that's the thing when I say take the emotional part out of it, whether it's your diet, your workout, anything in life, like you need sometimes that third party person, that coach, that mentor, whoever, to be like, hey, you know, stop fucking around and do it the right way.
Right.
And just kind of like put you in check.
And know what you're doing. This is what you should be feeling. Are you feeling that? If you're not, then correcting it. And that's been huge for me. All right, well, I got squats to do because my coach won't care that we're doing a podcast. So
He won't.
Join us for next time. I'm sure we'll have some more stuff to talk about.
Yep, stay tuned. Drink water, stay motivated, don't play with the yellow snow. See you in the next one. I am a fat personal trainer with a shit ton of fucking clients. Why? It's ridiculous.